Welcome to the Mortgage Podcast, where we give tactics, strategies, and inspiration to get you to 10 plus loans per month. We talk a lot about how to make a ton of money in mortgage while also being happy and thriving in your personal life. If you want to be a mortgage millionaire, you're in the right place.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Chapter 7 of the book Dare to Sell, written and told by Todd Screama. This chapter is called Starting All Over Again. Lauren started 3 weeks later. A mix of nerves and determination swirled inside her. Can I really do this? Can I really learn everything they expect of me? But one thing was clear. She had to make it work. There was no safety net. There's no plan B. Resigning from her position had been harder than she expected. She had braced herself for disappointment, maybe even a little guilt tripping. But the response she got was far worse. Harsh words, fear tactics, and clear message that she was making a terrible mistake. "You will regret this," her manager said, shaking her head. "This industry is brutal right now, and you're walking away from the only real stability you have." It stung. After everything they had been through together, she thought there would be at least some level of understanding. But there was none. And while part of her wanted to argue to explain why she had taken this leap, she didn't. Instead, she swallowed the lump in her throat, thanked them for the opportunity, and walked away. Now, sitting in her new office, she had to force herself to dwell on the past. The only way forward was to focus on what was in front of her. Her first development call was unlike anything she had ever experienced. She was required to submit her personal budget, not just business goals, but her actual household finances. She also had to track and report every single sales activity. She felt so exposed. They're going to see everything. It made her uncomfortable, but she reminded herself that discomfort often was the signal of growth. Her coach, a no-nonsense woman named Lisa, was kind but unflinchingly direct. Lauren had hoped for a little bit of grace, maybe even some easy things to do, but that was not happening. "The homework is simple," Lisa said. "Execute or you don't belong here." She laid it out. Number 1, create a target list of 100 realtors who have closed at least 6 or more buy-sides in the last year. Number 2, call all of them within 2 weeks using the prescribed offer attached. Number 3, secure 10 appointments. Number 4, use the 2-step close process at each and every meeting. Lauren felt her stomach drop. Seriously? How am I supposed to do all this in 2 weeks? Her first instinct was to push back. It was too much, too fast. But she kept her doubts to herself, hoping some hidden part of her would rise to the challenge. Lisa must have sensed her hesitation. "Lauren, I don't care if this seems like a lot. Welcome to the big leagues. The truth is, you've been winging it for years. It's worked when the market was hot, but those days are gone. If you don't master this, you'll be left behind. So tell me, are you in or are you out?" Lauren straightened in her chair. "I'm in." Lisa nodded. "Then act like it." Now, beyond the daily grind of calls and appointments, Lauren was introduced to Summit's Prosperity Peak program, a program designed by the CEO to add massive value to clients, to borrowers. Now, originally, Todd had sold the program for $5,000 to people across the country, but he eventually decided to make it free for all Summit funding borrowers. The program included over 80 hours of wealth building strategies, covered everything from tax planning and leverage to buying investment properties and paying off debt faster. A section specifically for children designed to teach them financial literacy, and 3 ways to access the program, which was online, live monthly calls, and twice a year in-person events. For Lauren, the biggest game changer wasn't even the content itself. It was the fact that it completely changed how she handled rate shoppers. She had spent years fighting over $500 in fees, trying to justify why she wasn't the cheapest lender in town. Now, it was pretty simple. When a borrower pushed back on pricing, she said, "Hey, I totally understand wanting to save money. That's exactly why we give all of our clients free access to Prosperity Peak. It's a $5,000 program designed to help you build wealth beyond this one loan. Most lenders are just selling you a mortgage. I'm in helping you build a financial future. So, do you want the cheapest lender, or do you want the one that will make sure you never have to stress about money again? That line alone ended the price objection on the spot. Over the next 3 weeks, Lauren came home every night exhausted. The constant calls, the scripted conversations, the pressure to perform. It felt overwhelming. Now, one night, she collapsed on the couch, her eyes burning from hours of staring at the CRM. Mark sat down beside her. Rough day? She exhaled. I'm so tired. I don't know if I'm supposed to keep up with all this. I feel like I'm drowning. He pulled her close. You're not drowning. You're learning to swim in deeper waters. She smiled, even though she didn't fully believe it yet, but she wanted to. Because despite the exhaustion, the doubt, and the sheer mental weight of it all, something was happening. She was making more calls than ever. She was getting real meetings, and slowly the fear of failing was being replaced by something she hadn't felt in years. Confidence. She didn't fully understand it yet, but deep down, she hoped what her coach kept saying was true. Change the person, change the business. So that's the end of chapter 7. Couple things I want you to learn about this. Anytime that we are going to improve ourselves and learn new skills, there's a trough period where it feels really hard. And once you recognize that that is totally normal and it's going to happen every single time, we don't have to borrow the worry about it. We just know, hey, this next month or two is going to be really hard. And then we start getting over the emotionalism, which frees up our energy to focus on the skill building. Another thing that was lightly mentioned in here, but is really important, is that I have lots of stories about this, but my first several years in sales, I never knew how to target market. I just would call people if they had a pulse and meet with them and see if something would happen. And the problem with that is that when you look at any industry, about 80% of the people you should never even call on. So if you just call the 20%, and you just focus on them, I think you'll find a couple things. One is they're just as easier to close, which I know sounds very counterintuitive. They actually can send you business because they're actually doing business. And your sales time that you spend, let's say that you spend 3 hours a day doing this, developing your business, instead of 3 hours, now that 3 hours is focused on the 20%, instead of 3 hours on the 100%, if you think about it, it's going to increase your sales effectiveness 3 or 4 times. It's so subtle that most salespeople never really understand it. There's an idea in here, both with the offers that she is making realtors and the offer now that she is making past clients, that there's more value. And this gets very confusing. My coach taught me that there's real value and perceived value. And the simplest example of this is I go to a gym that has 4,000 members. And when I go in there in the mornings, there's about 30 people in there. So, let's say that there's 200 people a day out of 4,000 visiting the gym. The other, 3,800, they just like the fact that they got a gym membership and they can go use the pool every once in a while. Now, is that bad? I don't know. They like it. They keep paying for it. The gym's like $500 a month, so it's not a cheap gym. So for those 3,800 people, the gym is more perceived value. For me, hopefully it's real value because I actually use the facility. So you'll find that happens in life over and over and over again. So sometimes, even though I may be offering a borrower the Prosperity Peak program, they may never open it, but they love the idea that you gave it to them and it's worth $5,000. So that's perceived value. So be careful, just understand that that's going to happen. The last thing is your income is directly tied to your skill level. And Lauren's starting to learn this. I think a lot of people, they don't know what to say or how to be valuable or how to ask better questions. And what happens is people just don't perceive you as valuable. And so they kind of trample on you. They don't send you that many referrals. Where if you have real skills, it's going to make a real difference. I tell a story sometime, it's a true story, where my general practitioner doctor, he's been in business a long time. He's getting ready to retire, makes a couple $100,000 a year. Another buddy of mine that is literally a brain surgeon, makes over $800,000 a year because he's got more skills. And that's simply what this chapter is trying to illustrate, is that as you grow your skill set, yes, it's hard for a while, but then it pays dividends for the rest of your life. My doctor that has a bunch of student loans, that's a brain surgeon, he's going to pay those off faster than the general practitioner did because he's making 4 or 5 times the income. And so there is real value when we develop our skills. We become a more important person, and we therefore make more money because we're more skilled. A lot of times in trades, you find that, the master electrician or the loan officer that really knows how to do loans, they make more money because their skills in that area are greater. And every loan officer in our industry is taking over loans from someone who didn't know how to do a loan, and you made the commission. That's an example of skills. So those are a few things that this chapter is trying to illustrate. I hope you enjoyed it. Now we're going to get into the next chapter, which is called Downward Spiral. And the chapter heading says it all. Things are about to get really, really bad. Stay tuned.